Hola, profe, buenas tardes, ¿cómo está? Bienvenida. Bueno,
Gracias.
bienvenidos a todos. Les doy la cordial bienvenida a la clase de evaluación de los aprendizajes para compartirles los parámetros de las secciones por videoconferencia. Las secciones se graban, pueden verlas nuevamente en la plataforma virtual. Les solicitamos que por favor silencien sus micrófonos y puedan activarlos cuando quieran hacer consultas o aportes con el permiso del docente. Le pedimos que mantenga su cámara activa. De no poder hacerlo, enviar su excusa por el chat de Zoom. De lo contrario, será retirada la sección y le serán restados puntos en la triangulación del docente. Miro cómo moderador facilitar y apoyar en la parte técnica. Consultas por el chat, personal o general. Les exhorto a tener bolígrafo y papel para hacer sus anotaciones y aprovechar al máximo esta sección que tiene una oración de 1 hora. Bienvenidos.
Hi, good afternoon. Let's get started. Okay, well, today, welcome to this 5th class. Let's see what we're going to do today. In this session, we're going to start with a prayer to get started. Then after that, we're going to have the objective that we have for this class. We're going to, after that, we're going to continue with the first topic that we're going to see, that is curriculum evaluation. What to evaluate? We're going to discuss this theory, these changes that may happen that when we evaluate the process of curriculum development and implementation. We're going to see the change in proposal that we have for this item. We're going to have measurements and assessment and evaluation differences. We're going to discuss what monitoring is. Then we're going to have a discussion in a debate. And then we're going to continue talking about the purposes of the evaluation, classroom purposes, curriculum material purposes. We're going to have school-wide purposes and community. Let's discuss this topic in some minutes. And finally, we will finish with the wrap-up. Okay, let's get started with a prayer. Well, thank you, Lord, for this day. Thank you for all the things that you provide us. Thank you for this class. Thank you for all my students, and bless them and bless me to achieve all our goals. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Okay, the object that we have for today's class is describe the main characteristics of curriculum evaluation and its purpose. So this is the objective that we have for today's class. Well, let's get started. Curriculum evaluation. When we hear about curriculum evaluation, we need to be very clear what we're talking about. Well, according to this definition, it is the assessment of programs, processes, and curricular products that are resources, not people, according to Oliva 2009. Here, for instance, we have a picture where we can see Florence Melly Community Primary School. And we have here in each of these, sorry, in each of these weeks, there is a program already established where we can identify the things that the students are going to be seeing according to the calendar they have. And it is planned for 12 weeks. Well, when we evaluate, we need to be clear what to evaluate. Well, there are two parts to evaluate when we are in the process of learning or in the process of education. There are two parts. that we can evaluate in the curriculum instructions process. First, before, during, and after the instruction, this is the normal process that probably we have been seeing, and it is already clear in our minds about the process of evaluation. The previous class, during the previous classes, we have mentioned that we have to be clear on the objectives that we have with the class, the subject, and in that way we can make the connection with the objectives that we have on the evaluation that we're going to place according to the topics. However, we need to also pay attention to the other things that are also important for the process of evaluation. For example, the curriculum guide, the teachers, the institutions that are always trying to supervise what's going on in the process of the teaching in the institution. Probably if it is a private school, the institution will be represented by the board of directors. And if we're talking about the the government, the Ministry of Education will be also taking into consideration what are the things that are going to be, what is the curriculum, or what are the things that the students are going to be learning according to the grades. The most important is that all of these areas are connected. Probably the institutions, the teachers or professors, and also it would be very valuable if the businesses or the private, the Chamber of Commerce, or the institutions, the Ministry of Business, is part of this process of curriculum development or regulation, because as we all are connected, or we all become part of the development of the curriculum, we are going to have better results. So the idea is to have a connection. This is often done in groups, and there is a process where all of these parts of the process of education contribute with different ideas or with different projects, where the curriculum for the school or for the whole country can be improved. Well, in terms of changes or what results we can get, we have here the evaluation. The evaluation helps to establish the worth of a program and make decisions on whether to continue, stop, or notify the project. So this is one of the most important parts. Analyze, for example, in our country, analyze how well prepared are the students from high school at the end of the year, or should be prepared at the end of the year, for example, this year, or take into consideration the students that graduated last year, to see how the curriculum should be adapted or should be changed. So in this way, we are going to see what possible solutions we can create, and if all these institutions contribute, teachers, students, private company, the Ministry of Education, and the board of directors, or if it is a private school, or the directors from different schools contribute with solutions, with ideas, in the process of developing a better curriculum, this process of curriculum evaluation is going to be much better. Maybe we should change, maybe we should adapt new things, maybe we should stop doing some things, but we need to communicate among all of the characters that are part of this process in order to improve. So there are various tools for collecting data, and the sources of the data are also discussed. Basically, in Panama, there is an international evaluation in some schools are placed, and in that way, we get an idea about how our students are doing. But besides this, we know that it's not happening right now. Any way or of communicating the institutions and the private schools or the public schools with the Ministry of Education and the for example, the Ministry of Commerce or the Chamber of Commerce or any of the kind, what profile they need in the end, and the universities also, they are not having a fluent conversation right now in order to improve our curriculum. However, the ideal process should be that all of these members of the process of education could gather and talk about the situation, talk about the necessities, the real necessities, and then we could have important changes in the curriculum of our country. The process of curriculum development and implementation can have can raise issues like, for example, what are the objectives of the program? This is basic. For example, if we take the elementary school curriculum and we try to update it according to the necessities of our children right now, we should be very clear on the objectives that we want to change. Second, are these objectives, we should ask ourselves, imagine that we are in the curriculum evaluation process. Are these objectives relevant to the needs of individual and society? Well, in Panama, we have seen that most of the changes that we see when we have had changes, these changes have been very, very light in, for example, in formats or in ways of planning, how to present your planning, but actually the real curriculum evaluation has been very laid back because of these superficial changes. But if imagine that we become part of the country to establish that should be, or we should add to the curriculum evaluation. Can these objectives also, we should ask ourselves, can these objectives be achieved? We need to be clear, because we cannot be like daydreaming with something that is not possible because of the reality of our students. So we need to pay attention to this. Another important question that we we should ask ourselves if we are part of this curriculum evaluation or trying to develop a curriculum change in maybe in an institution, in a private institution or private school, or if it is happening in the school where we're working. What are the methods being used to achieve these objectives? So we need to analyze. Are we using the appropriate methods according to the reality that we have in Panama in this moment? Number 5, are the methods the best alternative for achieving these objectives? So after we analyze about the methods, we should also pay attention to the connection that we have with the objectives. So they should be very close, and they should be coherent according to the change that we are trying to make. Well, also another important part is the resources. Are there adequate resources for implementing a curriculum? Well, this is super important, this part, because we can have great ideas. We can have a great project where we want to improve the curriculum, but we need to know exactly what we have right now in order to move on. So the resources that we have are super important, or work along with objectives, methods. So these 3 ingredients are fundamental in the process of developing a change or developing improvements or new strategies to improve the curriculum in our schools. Well, right now we're going to have individually, individual work. Make a list of 4 things you would like to change in our current official school curriculum in the English teaching area. Because of course, when there is a process of change, curriculum change, there are changes in all the subjects. But as we are focused on English, we're going to apply this topic specifically on English. Well, think about 4 things that you would like to change in our current official school curriculum in the English teaching area, of course. Well, I am going to help you due to the situation that we continue in this class. We continue having the classes with no attendance, but I hope this helps you to develop this important topic in the process of evaluation. Well, if you ask me what areas or what things I would like to change in our current school curriculum English teaching area, I would say, first of all, the approach. Change the approach. What do I mean? Well, when I say change the approach, I mean that we have to start teaching English and teaching Spanish or French in the way that we're teaching, because we're teaching a language. So we need to change the approach and start changing a language, not a subject. And this is one of the most important changes that the Ministry of Education has to make. in my personal opinion, because when the approach is teaching a language, you start creating, or the process of teaching changes totally. Because currently we're teaching English like a subject, like do this, do that, learn this, learn that, say it by heart, and that's it. Then you have a grade, that's it. Memorization is what we are developing. We are not developing a language. We are not developing interaction. We want students to be quiet in the classroom. It's impossible that we create skills about languages when we are in a classroom where the students cannot communicate or apply what they are learning immediately, orally, or interacting, creating their own ideas, their own thoughts about the topics, and applying the vocabulary that you are teaching. So definitely change the approach. Besides, I would include in the process of teaching, I would include the part of teachers' competence. Okay, would include as part of the curriculum, include teachers and create teamworks, because sometimes in a school, every teacher works isolated. And depending on the principal of the school, or depending on the kind of teachers that are in the school, then maybe some communication where they know what they are teaching in sequence. For example, if I am teaching 7th grade, another teacher is 8th grade, 9th grade, then we communicate in a way that the students that I am teaching during this year are ready for the profile the students from 7th grade should have, according to the necessities or the curriculum that is already established for 8th grade, and so on with the students that are on the way to go to 9th grade. So in that way, we are not repeating the same topics so lightly just for a grade, but we are creating students that are growing because we have enough time with them to help them develop the language. But we are repeating so many topics so lightly that we cannot go in deep in the real necessities of the topic or the real usage of the topic, so the students can experience all these areas about each topic, because we need to move on, because the next topic, and we are covering so many topics, but in the end, they are not clear enough. So the teachers should be able to work as a team, not as individuals. So teachers should be well prepared. That would be a must. Not only certifications, not only diplomas. The most important is competence. So teachers' competence, in my opinion, is super important. As a teamwork and profile for the kind of work they're doing. I would change in the curriculum. I would include a specific methodology. So all the schools, the ministry or the school should establish a methodology for all the levels. Like include the methodology would include phonetics, would include vocabulary, would include conversation, would include grammar, would include reading, would include arts, would include science, would include social studies, would include in all the subjects they should have a methodology, like start start in a way where the students get immersed in the topic. For example, in phonetics, they should listen to the teacher speaking English, but also it would be awesome to invite people, native speakers, to come to the school once in a while, so the students experience, or now with the technology, we can invite somebody that connects from another place, another country, or a person that is living in Panama but is a native speaker, so they can hear, they can be exposed to listen to the person, so they can have experiences, not only listen and repeat or write. Also include projects in the subject of phonetics. So all these things should be the same in all the subjects. For example, this is in phonetics. Well, what about the area of grammar? Well, including the area of grammar, a process of acquiring the same, getting the students into the structure, but also interacting, applying in real language this structure, talk to others about the way, or use a topic where they can apply this topic to explain a process or to show something. So in all the subjects, they can experience, they can go through experiencing the content that they are studying. So if it is social studies, go to a museum, get to know about the information before, try to get them interested in the topics, and then take them to the place or take them to touch real pieces or expose them to explain what they experience in the place when they live the experience. So all the subjects that we are teaching should include like a methodology, and the methodology in this example is have the students go through theory and immediately do an experience and talk about the experience. This would be an excellent methodology for all the subjects. If we want to get the students to develop a language, not develop a subject, because usually we take the students to do an activity, memorize something, do a test, and that would be all. In my opinion, a language like English should include at last the writing process, but first should go from experience. Also, I would change, or I would suggest the topics. Right now with technology, include updated topics. So I consider that every 2 years, according to the speed that we are going on technology, we should every 2 years update. Sorry, I misspelled it. Update topics every 2 years. So this is something that I would include as part of the curriculum evaluation. So it should be established every 2 years. This government or the next government, all the governments should update the topics that our students are studying, because we need to see what they need, what is going on in the world. We need to keep some, but probably eliminate some of them and include new topics that are relevant for the students. This, in my opinion, this will help teachers to keep constantly updated and know what's going on in the students' world. Because as we are part of another generation, sometimes we tend to keep in that era, in that time, with the same model that we learn, and we cannot continue like this. We need to update every time we can. Nobody has to tell us this. We have to be conscious about the necessity of updating with the topic, what's going on. Of course, this requires time. I'm sorry, I'm sick with the flu and I have difficulties. I'm sorry. So during this era, that model of using the topics or the models or the approach that our teachers use in that time is not effective. So we need to update. According to recently this week, I read an article that said that according to the studies in artificial intelligence, in some years, probably not right now, but in some years, professions like teaching professionals will disappear in the teaching area. Imagine if we don't update, if we don't change the approach that we're using to teach. Accountants, basic professions that we consider that we would always use them. There are many, the list is long of careers or professionals that will disappear because of not updating. So as you're going to be part of this new era of teachers, you need to be clear that this should be a must. Keeping updated is the clue to be a good teacher, to transmit the knowledge, to be effective in the process of teaching. So in general, all the schools, in my opinion, should be like this. Change the approach from teaching as a subject to change and look at English and languages as they are languages. They need interaction. They need immersion. Teachers' competence should be a must, and we should be able to work as a team. And our profile should be constantly looking for excellence, not comfort zones, always keeping moving forward, not keep staying. Include a specific methodology. The Ministry of Education and also the institutions that we have here, private schools, should establish a methodology, specific methodology, so standardizes all the levels, all the grades. Because if you have heard, people say that every teacher has his own book. However, I disagree, because we should look for the best methodologies, the best techniques, the most effective techniques in order to standardize a method or a teaching in our schools, because we should stop wasting time experiencing like, well, let's see if this teacher teaches my kid in the best way. Let's see. It should not be like that. It should not be like a ticket, the lottery ticket. No, it should be something that is already planned, already organized, and update, as I mentioned before. So this would be my suggestion. Well, now let's continue with the next part. Now let's see the relationship among measurement, assessment, evaluation. Let's see, what is it? Well, let's classify them and let's go step by step. Well, when we hear measurement, when we hear measurement, it means that we are going to collect numerical data, percentages, standards, and we need to validate if this data is reliable, and we need to compare them. So we are talking about the data in terms of numbers, percentages, and the standards. Well, according to this, measurement is the means of determining the degree of achievement of a particular objective or competency. So it means that if we don't have this data, we cannot know where we are in curriculum, in the curriculum evaluation. We cannot evaluate the results. So measurement is this. Then let's continue with assessment. So in this case is collecting, but in this case, collecting data, constant process. So in assessment, we evaluate the steps from the diagnostic, the formative, and the summative process, or when we are teaching. So at the end, we have an idea where we are, or no, where we are not, where our students are in the process of achieving the objectives that we have already established. So assessment includes the full range of procedures used to gain information about students' learning and the information of value judgments concerning learning progress. So it means that we are going to pay attention to the process through assessment. And evaluation, it says using data. Then now we are not collecting, it's using. The evaluation is using data collected from assessment to reform. It means connects between educational goals and goals achieved. So we need to see how many students achieved the goal that we had for this specific topic in the subject, how many students got so in the process and need to reinforce, and how many students didn't get the goal at all. So we need to try to immerse get immersed in the process and try to adjust the planning so we can stop a little bit, make a reinforcement, or trying to include that topic in the following topic in order to clarify or help the students that couldn't get the goal. Then that's why it's important the planning sequence that we have in order to make connections among them. We should not plan like, okay, according to what the book says. No, remember that the book has to be a tool. It's not my goal. My goal has to be set according to my students, their necessities, what I want them to get. So evaluation, the evaluation of a curriculum occurs so that the developers can accept, change, or eliminate various parts of the curriculum. So as I was mentioning before, in this process of the curriculum evaluation, when the exams to measure the knowledge general objectives that we have about the students according to the grades, this process of measuring, evaluating the first exam, the intermediate exam, and the last exam at the end of the year, we can evaluate how the students in general, in different schools, in different levels, are doing. So this process of curriculum evaluation is going to help us to, or should help us to talk principals or members of the Ministry of Education in the curriculum area, private institutions, the university. All of these members should gather this information, these results, and see the comparisons with other, what is supposed to be acquired, or what the students are supposed to be, the levels where the students are supposed to be, and what we get from them, in order to change or adapt the curriculum that we have to the necessities. So this is the relationship that they have. We need to include measurement, assessment, and evaluation in the process of curriculum evaluation. Well, we need to know that this super necessary to monitor. We can never evaluate anything if we don't monitor. We need to observe. So it is a continuous view of the progress of plan activities. So if we create this process of changing the curriculum, we need, after establishing the changes or establishing the necessities and coordinate with the changes, we need to plan how to continue with the monitoring of these projects of curriculum evaluation. So it is something that probably we can include daily, we can include weekly or monthly. So this monitoring has to help us to see if we are going on the right way, if we are if we are being effective on the process of the changes. So monitoring focuses on what is being done. It is centered on two questions. Is the curriculum project reaching the specified target population? And another important question is, or the second important question when we are monitoring is, are the various practices and intervention efforts undertaken as specified in the curriculum project design? So these are two crucial questions that we need to make ourselves if we are part of this curriculum evaluation. Well, why monitoring is important? Monitoring is important because it examines the inputs and outputs. Okay, remember that inputs is what we put on the students and outputs is the results. So we need to see if also the institution or the Ministry of Education or the private school where we're working is investing time and money on this curriculum change. We need to also pay attention if we are getting the results back. So it's a continuous information from monitoring. This continuous information from monitoring helps to identify weaknesses and strengths in the process. Monitoring thus helps to ensure that the implementation is on course. It means that it's like anything in life. You cannot, for instance, supervision. In other words, imagine that you trust on your employees. However, trust doesn't have to be taken as something that we need to assume, because you can trust on someone. However, you need to count the things. You need to measure the things with numbers. Remember, measure. You need to measure, because that person or teachers or professors can be doing their best in their classes with the resources and with the practice and with the experience they have. However, we need to see the results. We need to see what are the numbers. And according to the numbers, we need to see if we are going on the way that we want. So monitoring is super important in these changes. Well, here is evaluation monitoring. It says evaluation in relation to monitoring is the episodic assessment of the overall achievement. So when we are monitoring, we examine what has been achieved, what impact has been made, the gaps in the curriculum in addition to what may have been achieved by the students but wasn't. So we need to see all the areas, all the levels, all the numbers, what has been achieved. Perfect. This is the part that we need to continue doing. What impact has been made, because sometimes we teach something that has also that also spreads to the community. So we need to measure that, and the gaps in the curriculum. We need to check where there have been gaps that we can fix in order to achieve the goal. So these are questions that we need to include in the monitoring process. Well, the debate that we have here is in Panama, we are constantly monitoring and updating our school curriculum. Well, if you if you were here, we would have had a lot to talk. But as I am alone here, I'm going to leave this question to you. I'm going to give you my opinion and what I see. Well, I see that evaluation or supervision of the curriculum is very, very low. It's very low. The curriculum of the, for example, high school, that was that has been the last levels of, or the last area of education where I have been into. focuses a lot on if the teacher is following the process, like it has an introduction to the class, is having the students participate. But I don't see that teachers are becoming part of the curriculum evaluation. They are not talking about suggestions, like, well, if for example, pruebas PISA, when they get the results, I don't see that they go to schools to see what teachers propose to improve these weaknesses or these areas where usually students get low evaluation. So I think we need to be more part. Teachers have to become more active members of the process of curriculum evaluation. And the Ministry of Education has to be more constant on supervision of not only, well, the material that the students are receiving, the information they are supposed, or the material they are supposed to receive, but also if they are improving, because we need to make students become more analytical. This should be in all the areas, in all the subjects. They should become more critical people or critical citizens, where they can develop their own ideas and they can be able to say what they think, and they should be able to know how to explain themselves. So in different areas, not only in English, we lack in many schools monitoring and updating. Updating is something that we need to take it serious, because in Panama, this is very back in the past. Okay, the purposes. Now let's continue with the next step, that is the purposes of the evaluation. When we are talking about a curriculum evaluation, the evaluations serves in different aspects. These include, for example, feedback to students themselves. This is super important. Classroom purpose, including appropriateness of methods, curricular material, and even the community itself. So all of these aspects should be taken into consideration. Evaluation serves in the following purposes. First, individual students' progress purposes, or discover what the students have learned. For example, the knowledge, the skills, the attitudes, adjustments, among others. Ascertain the student's status in class, or discover where the child needs help and the nature of the help needed. For example, in the case of a child that didn't get at all the topic, we need to care about the students. Even if it is one, we need to try to help get him talk or participate with other students that really got the topic, and have him experience something, ask him questions, take him to the point of analyzing. So these are things that can be done if we pay attention to the process of evaluation. And the same way when we are trying to change the curriculum in an institution, or in the country, or in the school where we're working. Analyze data to determine what is needed to guide each student's overall growth and development. Of course, data is super important for analysis and determining the changes, and create like a guide, like a manual. Okay, if we are doing this, these things like this, with these results, we see that we need to change this and this and this, and we need to rewrite the processes so we can start analyzing if the changes that we are proposing are effective or not. Because if they are not effective, we need to start looking for others. But the idea is to constantly keep improving. The classroom purposes. Well, evaluation, in terms of the classroom, the evaluation provides data that enables the teachers to determine the effectiveness of teaching. Is clear this. It happens, for example, in answering questions such as, which of the objectives has been achieved? We need to have like a check mark. Okay, this objective was achieved, this not, or this was kind of achieved, so we need to reinforce. Are the methods and activities relevant and practicable? We need to know that, because sometimes some methodologies are very demanding, take too much time, or they are very expensive, they are not appropriate for the kind of students we have. So we need to adapt the methodology. Is reteaching necessary? Well, reteaching right now with technology is a very easy way, for teachers. Why? Because there are videos. We can assign students to watch videos and they feel entertained. So reteaching right now is becoming easier for us. And of course, if it is necessary, we have to do it. So record or recommend a video to watch to get better on the topic or clarify the doubts. And that would be a great idea. Curriculum material purposes. Well, in terms of the whole change of curriculum, the material purposes, we need to pay attention if this material is relevant, is usable, is appropriate, and is affordable. 4 areas that we have to pay attention before deciding on the material that we are proposing. And talking about the school-wide purpose, if we are talking about the whole institution or the whole, imagine in this guy in Panama, the public school, the whole country that is part of the Ministry of Education, assess the overall effectiveness of the institution. Reveal over or under emphasis in individual classrooms. Reveal learning areas needing more attention throughout the school. Assist the school administration and staff in planning for institutional improvements. And improve data useful for school-wide institution and interventions. So all of these areas, also as a school or as an institution, have to be taken into consideration when we are changing or we are trying to change the curriculum, because we cannot ignore them. And the last part of the community, what are the attitudes and inputs of the community to the curriculum and the curriculum development process? Are graduates solving the problem or necessities in their communities? Well, in Panama, we have the called labor social, or social work. This is doing something. However, I think we can still do more, or our students can do more for the community. So the community also needs to give feedback on how they feel on this, let's say, the help they are getting from their students or the students from the community. So we also need to listen to them. And who do you agree with and why? Well, there are here, this is the last activity. There are two theories. Tyler, who proposes that evaluation at the end of the program that he considers that we should establish evaluation at the end of the program to provide data for making decisions about the curriculum, such as reviewing and modifying and etc. However, on the other hand, John Goodland proposes continuous evaluation throughout the entire process of curriculum making. This information provides feedback as the process continues, and revisions are expected to make accordingly and promptly. Who do you agree? Well, so I encourage you to go to the forum, class number 5, and you are going to give me your answer. Who do you agree the most and why? You need to tell me why. So with this, we finish with today's class. Well, in 1 minute, what we have seen? Well, we have seen, well, this topic is very wide. We have seen that when we're talking about curriculum, we can focus specifically on the process of teaching something. That is evaluation. And also we can evaluate the whole concept. Teachers, the students, the community, and we have seen the changes include also different sources, different tools, different methods, alternatives, include different proposals. We have seen that we need to get the data, we need to evaluate the data, we need to see the process in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end, and we need to establish different proposals, different inputs, and we also see we need to pay attention to the outputs or the results. We need to pay attention to the purposes of the evaluation, what is really necessary, what we need to include, what we need to keep, what we need to maybe take more in details in the classroom, with the resources, the schools, but they have to pay attention, they cannot forget. And also it's important to listen to the community, or the community also could be the private companies which are going to hire these students that we are forming. And finally, these two theories about the way of evaluation. So this is what we have seen today. We are in the 5th week. We only are missing 3 more classes, 3 more lessons. And I have seen on the platform that you have not, so far, only 1 student has been in the classes, and it is necessary that you do the assignments. As soon as possible. Watch the classes and solve the activities on the platform. Well, my best regards. I hope you have an excellent week and see you next Saturday. Thank you for attending.
Profe, muchísimas gracias.